Considering that I'm a fairly heavy rider, I have to say that I'm fairly lucky because I don't generally have any problems with the bike itself. All my issues tend to be with the wheels. If you were watching my Bicycle Diaries vlog a couple of months ago, you'll know that I was having all sorts of problems, ranging from broken spokes to broken hubs, broken axles and even cracked rims. It was very frustrating, and at one point I didn't have a single set of wheels that I was able to use. This prompted me to go onto the internet and research wheels for heavy riders, and this brought me to a chap called Drew and his company called Spin On These. Drew is a specialist wheel builder. He custom builds high performance wheels by hand. They are literally one-offs. And in the particular video that I saw, he also claimed they were good for heavier riders, and obviously this caught my interest. So I got in touch and Drew very kindly sent me a set of wheels to try out. Now I'll be completely transparent here and say that at the moment these wheels are free of charge, but the opinions that I'm going to give in this review are completely my own. As with all reviews, let's start off with a few facts and figures. The wheels themselves weigh 1,650 grams for the pair, and that breaks down to 750 grams for the front wheel and 900 for the rear. They come with a 58mm carbon rim, and that's 29mm wide, which makes it suitable for regular or even tubeless tyres. According to the website, they are also suitable for riders up to 125 kilograms. They have alloy hubs which are quick release or through axle compatible. The spokes are aero-bladed stainless steel, and on the front wheel there are 20 cross-laced spokes, and on the rear there are 24 cross-laced spokes. And as for gearing, they will work with 9, 10 or 11 speed hubs of all brands. Just to be clear, these are not your bargain basement budget wheels. They are high performance, handmade, custom builds, and as such they aren't going to be cheap. But having said that, they're not desperately expensive, and they come in at just under £1,300 for the pair. The bottom line is that buying a high quality, high performance set of wheels like this is never going to be cheap. But when you buy from Drew, you are having a direct rider to manufacturer experience, and that obviously will cut out all of the unnecessary expenses of buying from a retail outlet. During my initial discussions with Drew, I was a little unsure about which bike I wanted to use them with. I didn't know if I wanted to use them with the Trek, which has caliper brakes, or with my Cannondale, which has disc brakes. But after a while, Drew said that he was able to send me the wheels that were compatible with both systems. It just meant a few tweaks that I had to make once I'd decided. I initially tried to install the wheels on my Trek, but unfortunately the older style brake calipers just could not open wide enough to accommodate the rim. So I then reverted to my Cannondale, which meant I had to invest in a couple of extra disc rotors, and although the wheels themselves are designed for the centre lock system, I decided for reasons of my own to go for the adapter kit and use the bolt system. The very first ride I did on these wheels was on a short 25km route, and actually my main objective that night was just to see if I'd installed them correctly and all the mechanical stuff that I'd done was correct. I'm pleased to say it was, and after a little while I felt confident enough to kind of up the speed and give them a bit more of a test. Now my first impression was that the deep set rims were handling fairly differently to the wheels that I'd had on there before. The 58mm deep section rims were actually the deepest ones I've ever ridden, and obviously I could certainly feel the wind a little bit, and on that particular day it was blowing an absolute hoolie, so perhaps it wasn't the most objective of tests. Essentially the wheels did steer a little sort of stiffer, and I could sort of feel the wind buffeting me a little bit. But apart from that, it was a very comfortable ride on roads that I know were fairly bumpy, and I also thought that the speed was a little bit faster than the wheels that I'd had on there before. One of the main features of these wheels are the deep section rims, and I was initially a little bit worried that would mean I would be buffeted by the wind. But I had a Zoom conversation with Drew himself, and during that he told me that the deep sections actually serve two purposes. The first is just general strength. Basically, the more material you have on the rim, the stronger the wheel is going to be. And secondly, the deep section rims have been designed to work aerodynamically in crosswinds, and essentially they act a little bit like sails, and they should in theory pull the wheel along during crosswinds, making it easier to ride, and obviously that will increase your average speed. Now for some people this claim might be pretty unbelievable, and I have to admit that I don't really understand the physics behind it, but I do remember my physics classes at school and learning about something called the Bernoulli effect, which in essence is the process that keeps an aeroplane's wing in the air, so it might have something to do with that. What I will say though is that in my experience this claim appears to be true. I've been riding these wheels for about a month now, and I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but when I've been in a crosswind or even a headwind, it's not affected me quite as much. It's been far easier to pedal, and obviously that has meant that my speed has been higher. Traditionally I've been putting about 100 psi in my tyres, and obviously that's going to be good for speed, but it's not going to be great for comfort, particularly when you consider some of the rough surfaces of the roads that I ride on. Now Drew was telling me that one of the features of these wheels is that they don't really need as much air pressure in. He was recommending about 60 to 70 psi, but I haven't been quite brave enough to go that low yet, so I've been putting about 85% in, and I have to say that it is far more comfortable, and surprisingly there's been no loss of speed associated with that. And of course the other thing about deep set rims is the sound that they make. Some people love it and some people hate it. I have to admit that I really like it, and these wheels sound absolutely incredible as you ride along. Obviously any sound generated is associated with a loss of energy somewhere along the lines, but again in my experience I've not experienced any loss of speed whatsoever. In fact, I've only ever noticed an increase in speed. All in all, I really like these wheels. They look the business, they're very well made, they're super comfortable, and they're rather fast. But having said that, I can easily imagine that the initial price point will put a lot of people off. They're not going to be for everybody. But if you're in the market for a high quality, high performance set of wheels, then you should seriously consider them, particularly if you're a heavier rider. In that regard, the strength of the wheels is something that I'm not really going to know about for a while yet. I'm going to have to ride these wheels for a few more years to find out, but for the moment they seem to be holding up incredibly well. So there we go, that's the spin on these wheels reviewed. If you'd like to find out more, I'll leave a link to Drew's website in the description below this film. Thanks for watching.